I mean, I do a few things, right? So there's the teaching aspect. So you want to teach a whole generation of students to think and to ask questions, especially radical questions, and to deal with difficult material, right? Struggle with it, think about it, sit uncomfortably with it, right? So that's one aspect of the work that I do. Another one, of course, is the research, the writing, and in that sense, and this is the part that, you know, I'm very passionate about, because ultimately what you're trying to do here is, of course, build upon knowledge that already exists, but then expand it and explore areas that haven't been explored before, right? So that's the exciting part. It's almost like, you know, you're exploring space and new planets, and so you're doing this with ideas and exploring political possibilities, theoretical possibilities, with research. And so hopefully it has an effect on others that read your work and engage with you, so the students, but also people that engage with the research. And ultimately, you wanted to make a change. It wouldn't be interesting for me if you do things that only a select few people read and it doesn't change the world somehow, or change at least the individual. I mean, you have to start at that level. You know, to have social transformation, you need to have the personal transformation as well. I use the term radical, and I know this term has been tainted because it can be used in a negative sense, but I use it in the classical sense, you know, referring back to the French Revolution and the emergence of, you know, radicalism, liberalism, and conservatism. Liberalism is what we can think of as centrism, politically speaking, in the sense of, well, we'll do slow reforms, but try to maintain the status quo more or less. Of course, conservatism is this fantasy about the past, that there was some kind of golden past that we should return to, and that's why we shouldn't change things. In fact, we should try to return to some kind of ideal past. And of course, radicalism is this sense of discontent with how things are and wanting to change them quickly, and hence the revolutionary spirit. So it's not about slow reform, but how can we radically change this? How can we do this through some kind of in a revolutionary way? And this, of course, could be at the political level, but it's also at the scientific level. Right? I mean, Thomas Kuhn talks about revolutions too, right? Scientific revolutions. So all those types of revolutions are important. So I'm interested in all of them. It's a real problem because, you know, there's the whole neoliberal ethic of pretty much producing degrees with the idea that they'll lead to jobs. And of course, I understand the practical concern. We all want to survive. And so I get it, and I don't look down upon that. I respect that. But at the same time, I don't think that's the role of education. Education has to do more than that. The education has to help us think. It has to change us in some way. And that's the radical edge. It's like when you read something and you can't think the same way before reading, and it could be so disturbing that you completely change as a person. But that's what we're talking about, and that you can't put the job goal or as part of this because you don't know what's going to happen. And obviously, you can't really plan exactly how your life is going to work. So you might get a degree and think that this is the path you go on, but you end up working in something else. So ultimately, we want to change lives. We want people to think critically, and what they do with their lives, no one can predict that. So I think it's dishonest to be able to suggest that. Unless, of course, you're doing more specialized degrees, and that's different. And we're talking here about more like the humanities and the liberal arts, yes, right? But of course, if you are being trained as a medical doctor, it does make sense for you to think of profession that way. But as someone that teaches in a humanities and social sciences department, and I teach psychology, humanities, crime and justice courses, and so it's pretty much interdisciplinary. And in that sense, Actually, the degree that we offer is integrated studies. So literally, that's the name of the major. So that's not a specialized major. That's more like an interdisciplinary major that makes you think. And what kind of job you can have multiple kinds of jobs. There's not one specific path, right? I think when students write me an email about how much a course meant to them or something like that, that really moves me, because it shows me that it did have some kind of impact. And this impact, you can think of it as a seed. It could become unconscious, but it's going to be an impact for life, right? Something changed. And that's obviously you fail as a teacher when the students don't care, right? But if what they learn about is something they're going to think about, even unconsciously, then that's a success for me.